Hello, happy Tuesday, everybody. I am Lisa.
I'm Danielle.
I'm Jamie. Hello.
And
Hello,
we
everyone.
are Curious Casefiles.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. And this week we are doing UFOs, the History, Part 1. And brace yourselves, everybody, because we're not cruel and we don't want to make... Yeah, shall I start that again, shall I?
Please.
Because we're not cruel and we don't want to make you wait a whole week for Part 2, we will be back on Thursday at 10 p.m. GMT. That's 5 p.m. Eastern. So a little extra episode this week. Part 2 will be on Thursday. And before we get into the aliens, though, I'd just like to let everybody know who's wondering, the big question from last week is baby sheep. What happened with the baby sheep? They were twins. Kerry's little sheep had twins, and they are absolutely adorable. I've seen a picture. They're so cute.
Yeah, they are adorable. So
twins,
cute.
and I believe one of them's called MC Lammer.
There you go. Great.
Kelly, yes, I am in a hotel room. Yep, good eye.
Welcome to the Hotel California. Danielle's in California, everybody.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's sunny right now. Well, last couple days have been sunny. Today's not as much, and they're expecting kind of really bad weather on Friday, like snow even maybe.
So you escaped the east to get away from the weather, and you brought the snow with you.
Yeah. Okay, well, don't blame it on me.
Yes, Danielle.
It's all your fault, Danielle. It's all your fault.
Danielle's fault, everybody. If you have crap weather, it's Danielle's fault. She brought it with her.
Oh, and I've just been informed in the chat that the little baby sheep are called Sadie and Pearl. There's no MC Lammer. I'm very disappointed.
Sadie, but Sadie, yes, they're adorable. You have to go check them out. She has some really cute pictures on there.
So cute. It's so cute. And we're going to, this week, look at the history of UFOs all the way up till the end of the 19th century. And we start in circa 1440 BC and go all the way up. So, as you can see, that's why we split it in two, and we'll be back on Thursday. Before we begin, there is a lot of UFO, you could call them, because it's unidentified things in the sky, recorded in religious texts all over the world, including the Christian Bible and the Vedic text, where you've got the Vimanas, which were apparently mercury-fueled crafts that were sort of circular pyramid sort of shaped things. I wouldn't even know how to describe that, Jamie. The Vimanas.
No. Actually, they're quite similar to the normal picture of them. Is similar to a pine cone. Shaped. There you go.
So that is something that we'll get into in another episode, because what we're going to look at over the next two episodes is reported incidents of encounters with UFOs or aliens that were recorded at the time. Now, a lot of these religious texts were recorded maybe like decades or centuries later, so we've not included them, but we will get into them at a later date. But we're going to start in 1440 BC. That's the earliest one I could find that was recorded at the time.
It's amazing that it is recorded at that time even.
Yeah.
Although some skeptics would say that it's a hoax.
Okay.
But don't they always? Don't they
Yeah,
always? Yeah. Get my little slideshow up so you can see my slides, everybody, because there's pictures on them.
Oh, everyone likes pictures.
Yeah.
So, pictures.
UFOs, the History, Part 1. And Chapter 1, Ancient Aliens. I wonder where I got that from. That'd be a good name for a TV show, wouldn't it, everybody?
Very good name for a TV show.
Yeah. And hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you very much for coming and your continued support. We love you all.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right. So circa 1440 BC. And there's a lot of words, and I need to just put this off. There's a lot of words in this episode. I do apologise in advance for the butchery that's going to happen with the words.
By all of us.
Jamie's feigning a sore throat, so me and Danielle's doing all the words.
Yeah.
I think he's lying because he's seen this.
I don't know. We've had worse.
We certainly have not had worse. Just you wait. So Jamie's pretending he's got a sore throat, so he's left it all to me and Danielle.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll cover you, Jamie. No worries.
Okay, because when his throat's better, I'm going to write the most ridiculous episode for him.
Yeah.
Right, so circa 1440 BC. according to the Chile Papyrus, that one was easy considering what's coming.
Yeah.
The scribes of Pharaoh Thutmose III reported that circles of fire and fiery discs were encountered floating over the sky. This papyrus, or at least a copied transcription of it, surfaced in 1953 and was reportedly found in the papers of Albert Tully, the Vatican Museum director, after his death. He had copied the contents from the original held in the Vatican Museum. Vatican, everybody. And many have speculated that he had been the victim of a hoax. Why the Vatican would hoax the museum director, I've got absolutely no idea, because that doesn't make any sense.
Well, we know that no one else can get access to there, so it's got to be someone inside.
And the Condon UFO report, which happened in the 20th century, which we'll get into more on Thursday, concluded that that's what happened and that the Vatican hoaxed their own museum director back in the 1950s. And I don't believe that for a minute.
No.
Yeah. So
why would you do that? That doesn't even make sense, you know.
Do we ever know what the Vatican is really up to, though? I mean,
that seems like something like the Vatican's going around making practical jokes on their
boom boom. Yeah.
Ha ha, got you. Yeah. Right. Okay. Anyway. So that was circa 1440 BC, and although this was until 1953, the actual papyrus was written around the time that this happened in 1440 BC. So that's the very first one.
Well, I mean, as for evidence, we know that there's some strange things been seen, reported, and created in them areas. So, yeah, I think that could be genuine, obviously, given what we do know about things. But
yep. And Expialidocious says that von Daniken said about ancient aliens in the Vedas, the Indian Vedic scripts and the Mahabharata. And that is something that we're going to get into in another episode. I don't know exactly what the whole content of that episode is going to be yet, because there's so much things floating about in my head. But we do want to get into that. But because that was written later and not recorded at the time, we didn't include it in this because there was so much, as you're going to find out over the next two episodes. There's so much to go over.
I think you just brought that up before we went on today, actually.
Yeah. So that goes on to the next one. And Danielle's going to tell us all about it.
I'm going to attempt to tell us all about it because there's a lot of Latin in this particular.
Oh, so Danielle's going to throw it to me, is she?
I'll give it a whirl.
I am an expert in Latin, everybody, apparently.
I took Latin in high school, believe it or not.
Oh, did you? So you should read it then, shouldn't you?
Well, you understand me, so I guess you.
Right, I'll try, everybody. I'll try.
Yeah.
And if it goes all horribly wrong, it's all Danielle's fault because she made me. Right, in the history of Rome, Titus Livius recorded a number of proponents in the winter of this year. That's 218 BC, including Navium Specimen Decalo ad Fusisi.
That sounds like something you go to the doctors about.
God bless you.
Yeah, bless me. Which means phantom ships had been seen gleaming in the sky. And it probably doesn't mean that. Whatever I just said probably means something completely different. But whatever it's supposed to sound like, that's what it means.
Okay.
The omen, as they perceived it, reoccurred multiple times. At Arpi, round shields were seen in the sky in 1216 BCE and 1212 BCE. At Riyadh, a huge stone was seen flying about. Huge stone. According to one translation, beings in human shape and clothed in white were seen in the distance, but none of them came close to the observers.
Right, straight away, that's a strange description, isn't it? Human shaped. I mean, yeah, that's nothing what I thought. You just say like human.
Yeah, you wouldn't say human shaped.
Human
shape.
It
was either a human or it wasn't. So what was
I
it?
guess meaning like bipedal or like 2 arms, 2 legs.
And Jeanette in the chat says, no wonder Danielle didn't want to say it. I thought I said that perfectly, Jeanette. Thank you very much. Navium Specium Decalo ad Fusisi.
I think it's actually my father, but yeah.
It probably is.
But I can see the flying stone. That could be a meteorite, couldn't it, I guess? But who knows? But the gleaming shields and things like that and the phantom ships.
Yeah.
Phantom ships.
Phantom ships.
Yeah. And is Danielle going to try the next one? I don't know.
I will. Sure. Okay, so now we're going to.
There's a word in it, Danielle, always.
Okay, so there's one word as opposed to a whole.
Word.
All right, I'll see what I can do. So now we're up at 76 BC. Another Roman writer, Pliny the Elder, wrote of UFOs a few times. The most commonly cited sighting was in 76 BCE when a group of people saw a spark fall from the sky, increase in size as it approached the Earth, and after becoming as large as the moon, it diffused a sort of cloudy daylight and then returned to the sky. Pliny also wrote of 3 moons appearing at once at 122 BCE, and a burning shield scattering sparks that ran across the sky at sunset from west to east in 85 BCE.
Yeah, so he wrote quite a lot of things down, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't look crazy. I mean, if you could tell from like a little sketch that if somebody looks crazy, but he looks quite distinguished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks suave.
Suave.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got his little sheet on.
And his hair looks like a cloud.
I don't know what's going on with his hair. I was trying to ignore the wafty hair, but yeah. That's Pliny the Elder, or Pliny. I don't know what his name is, but
Pliny.
So next up, jumping from 76 BC, we're going to 7 BC, and we are in Greece, everybody.
All right.
So, according to Plutarch, and I would believe
That
that's
sounds like a different planet.
Yeah, a Greek philosopher and biographer, during the battle, during the battle, we wrote that. We wrote this. We wrote this. Oh,
I can say it wasn't me.
Yeah. During the battle, the Roman army had with Mithridates VI of Pontus.
Mm-hmm.
The sky burst asunder, and a huge flame-like body was seen to fall between the two armies. In shape, it was most like a wine jar. This is how they spoke. It's very hard to read it. It was most like a wine jar, and in colour like molten silver. Now, to me, that means it was orangey, because molten always looks orangey. Both sides were astonished at the sight and separated. This marvel, as they say, occurred in Phrygia. Phrygia?
Phrygia?
Phrygia.
Fragile.
Fragile. Occurred in Fragile at a place called Ortiai.
Yeah. So molten silver.
It was in Turkey, everybody. It happened in Turkey.
So it sounds like it was hot and metallic. So what would sort of what we see when spacecrafts come back into the orbit and burn up, and objects like meteorites
and
comets.
This place, Fragile, which I'm going to call it Fragile,
from now on,
is now today located along the Sakarya River in Turkey.
Oh, is it indeed?
And yeah,
it's an interesting description. A wine jar, shaped like a wine jar. I don't know that we've have we heard.
No, didn't we?
Have we heard of other? I had not been familiar with any other spacecrafts being described as a wine jar.
No,
suppose though, like that was something that was common then. I mean, you don't really have wine jars.
Well, this is the question I want to know: is at the time they never say about the size, because obviously they didn't know about.
Well,
the
they
distance.
do now. In America, it's always the size of a football pitch.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What did they have? Maybe they said it was, the size of an arena or something.
It was the size of the Colosseum.
Yeah, Colosseum.
There you go.
In any modern day sightings, it was like the size of 2 football fields. And I mean, I don't even know what size 1 football field is, to be honest.
Let alone 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100 yards.
We're going out of the
Is
base.
it?
Is it, Danielle? She's so educated in these things, isn't she?
Well, are you talking? Okay. I don't know what soccer fields are bigger, I think. So.
No, it's football, love. It's not soccer.
Perhaps they were drinking while they saw it and think, "Oh my God, it looks like just like this." Look,
you're American football. You don't use your feet, do you? You don't use your feet, so it's not football.
No.
So it's not football because you're not using your feet, love.
I know. I don't know where that all came about, but whatever. On to more UFOs.
yeah, we just completely went onto a different subject. Right, we're going out of the BCs and into the ADs, everybody. So we're into the ADs.
Yeah.
And is it Danielle?
It is.
I've got to check in case there's a word you don't want to say.
I'll throw it back at you if they come up with that. All right, so
really looking fella, isn't he?
Yeah, nice hat. And Fluffy
He's got a
bear.
really small head in comparison to his body, isn't he?
That might be
I
just
think
his
it's,
hat is so large.
Or padded clothing, but
Has he got
Anyway.
tinsel around his neck?
you know what? Maybe that's what it is. So we're in
Carve a
65 AD now. One of the most important works by Titus Flavius Josephus was the Jewish War, which told of the Jewish revolt against Rome, describing an event that took place in 65 AD. Josephus wrote that before sunsetting, chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen running about among the clouds and surrounding of the cities, reportedly occurring on the eve of the First Jewish-Roman War.
Hmm.
Yeah. Weird.
That's very strange. But again,
Chariots of all things.
yeah,
Chariots.
metallic items are being mentioned, shiny armor and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a repetition going on.
Yeah, because if it was a meteor or something like that, it wouldn't appear metallic, would it?
No,
I wouldn't think so.
not normally. No.
Right.
Yeah, the Bible. Kelly says the Bible speaks of Elijah. Is it Elijah or Elijah? Elijah riding a fiery chariot to heaven. Yes, it does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's the chariots of the gods in the Bible, and all throughout religious texts, which is something we didn't. If we'd included all the religious texts, that's a whole other episode, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we will get into that at some point. But there is a lot of correlations in some of these to what you see in your religious texts. And then we're going to zoom forward quite a bit, actually, to 740 AD. Oh, no. It's because she made me do an extra one. I've now got this thing. Right. The airship of Clonmacnoise.
So there you go.
Is the name given to a series of incidents in Ireland in 740 AD. Not just the incident reported at the monastery at Clonmacnoise. Multiple annals at this time report...
I read that wrong. I'm going to admit it, I read that wrong.
It doesn't say anal, Jamie.
No.
It doesn't say anal.
Annals, dear. See, it's a good job Jamie can't read today. Multiple annals at this time report numerous sightings all over Ireland of strange ships and their crew.
And their crew.
And their crew.
And the crew again.
So the crew.
Saw...
And the windows. There was little windows on the ship.
But did they have... Yeah. Was it open windows? Because they didn't have glass.
Well, they were able to see the crew, so...
Yeah.
But I couldn't find any descriptions.
No.
But they did see the crew, and
it was documented.
It'd be nice to know what they saw, but we don't know at this stage. Maybe I could find out if I dug deeper, but there was that much to do that I couldn't dig that much into every single little one. And next up, from 740, it's 816 AD, everybody.
That's right.
Danielle Elvis.
816 AD, another recording of a bizarre aerial sighting from France occurred in AD 816 in what is now modern-day Lyon, and was written about by Agobard of Lyon. Agobard. He was a Spanish-born priest and Archbishop of Lyon in his book De Grandine et Tonitris.
De Grandine et Tonsillitis.
Yes, kind of. So Agobard would write of this experience, or his experience, with Magonia, a realm in the clouds where aerial sailors and their airborne ships reside and sometimes come from. It is an interesting claim. According to the writings, 3 men and women had fallen to the ground from these aerial ships and were set upon by the townsfolk until Agobard intervened and prevented their certain deaths. It doesn't state what happened to the 4 aerial sailors after this, however.
I know, that's disappointing. Disappointing. I'd like to know what happened, but they don't tell you.
But again, it's the ships again and the crew.
And the crew again.
So you don't get that so much now. You get those objects. But just setting aside that picture, that little guy at the back looks quite funny in the little picture. The little guy with a helmet. Has he got a helmet on, or is it his head?
That's the monk.
That's the monk. Are they
What, the one in the middle? Point.
No, the one with the little arrested alien.
Arrested him.
Arrested alien.
Anyway.
So that is the ancient aliens.
Is that other guy got socks on at the front? Look.
Oh, Jamie, leave it to you to point that out.
Jamie's just going to give you a critique on the cartoon now.
Of the
everybody.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he's here, to look at the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
So
Jamie
that
likes
is
to
the
draw.
ancient aliens, although the next ones you could argue are ancient aliens as well, but we've put it in a different section, and that's chapter 2. Late Middle Ages and the Renaissance period, which I believe ended in the 17th century. Did it? Maybe? Renaissance? Yeah. Well, we'll go with that. I'll pretend I know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And
And we'll pretend to agree that you know what you're on about as well. Because I don't have a clue. But
yeah, I believe the Renaissance period was the 15th or the 14th through the 17th century. So 1211 AD. According to the history of... You don't need this on the screen at the moment, do you? There's no picture.
no, we only want the pictures. Little men
Yeah.
with socks.
Right, according to the history of British folklore by Richard Mercer Dawson, Gervase of Tilbury wrote about people witnessing a flying ship that got its anchor lodged in a church in England in 1211. The story goes that as people were exiting a church in Bristol, a ship in the sky got its anchor caught on a pile of stones, and as its cable reached upward into the clouds. Voices were then heard above the clouds, apparently in clamorous debate, and a sailor came down the cable. As soon as he touched the ground, the crowd gathered around him, and he died, like a man drowned at sea, suffocated by our damp, thick atmosphere.
Mm.
The cable was cut an hour later, and the ship sailed away, leaving the anchor behind, which was then reportedly remade into ornaments and fastenings for the church door. Some accounts even claim that the villagers stoned the man to death, rather than him dying in atmospheric suffocation. However, to this day, no one knows what happened to the man or which exact church in Bristol it was that was caught by the anchor.
So basically, see, at first, when I first heard that, I thought to myself, "Oh, that was like a beam of light." Like like you hear the stories of abductions,
There
large
was
beam of light.
obviously something physical.
But that was
there,
actually physical, and all that shouting from above was probably them going, "Who left the bloody anchor
bollocks, we're stuck."
Yeah.
They should have kept better records, though.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you expect for 1211 AD, Danielle. They were, yeah.
Well, when you see something amazing like that and out of ordinary, you think that they would be like, write this down.
Can you imagine answering to Darth for getting your anchor stuck in a human's church? Yeah. That would be, you would get the chokehold.
Well, what would Darth Vader say if you told him that you got you?
Probably something like that.
He'd go, what?
You're part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and
Anyway.
the next one is in 1350. And does Danielle want to read this one, or has she seen words?
I see lots of words, but I'll read them. I'll want to read them. So 1350 AD, yeah. The crucifixion of Christ, which hangs above the altar of the Visoki Dekani Monastery in Kosovo, depicts the crucifixion of Jesus Christ with a clear airborne craft in each corner of the painting. Even stranger, a person appears to be piloting each aircraft. The pilot in the top right corner is looking back at the craft behind him, as if he is being pursued. Both pilots seem to be, both pilots seem to be dressed in spacesuits. The lack of halos near them appears to rule out the possibility that they are divine beings. Mainstream theorists have suggested that the UFOs are symbols of the sun and the moon. However, the Christian church does not recognize the sun or the moon as deities or divine beings.
Yeah,
and at
so
the time,
putting that in a painting at that time would be blasphemy, wouldn't it? So
right. At the time that the painting was created, it was considered blasphemy. Like you said.
The full painting on the screen with the crucifixion in the middle, and you can see in the top left and the top right hand corner the two craft that we're talking about, and there's the close-ups.
Yeah, now I can spot something straight away. If they were just the sun and the moon, which it could possibly be, I can understand
both be
that.
there at the same time, would they?
Well, why is the one what looks more moon-shaped got a little logo on the side of it?
It has got a little logo on the side of it.
Yeah.
But the sun and the moon wouldn't be in the sky at the same time, would they?
Yeah.
Well, not both visibly seen, absolutely not. And yes, Kelly, Moses and Elijah, they were both seen with Christ at his ascension.
Yeah. We know it could represent something else, but it's just, you know.
They've not got any, like, the symbology that was accepted at the time for religious art. There's no halos, there's no indication that they're divine beings. It's just they're flying in these little weird shapes, and there is theories that it's spacecraft and aliens.
Why would they get the idea that anything up in the sky need to be man?
Yeah, why would it be man?
Controlled by
man in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that is that one.
If it was just the sun and the moon, just do the sun and the moon, you know.
Yeah, there's a couple of artworks in this section, and I believe the next one's an artwork, is it? Yes, it is. So I'll put this on the screen for you, actually, because it's on the same page as my text. And here it is. In the painting, the Madonna with Saint Giovanni, Saint somebody, the Madonna with a saint, a flying craft is above and behind the left shoulder of the Madonna. Now it gets weirder. We've also got a little man pointing at it with a dog, and I'll show you the zoom in a minute.
Yeah.
So a man is staring up at the craft, and his dog appears to be barking at it, which suggests that the object isn't divine. Because why would a dog be barking at something divine? The position of the Madonna in relation to her children has led some to suggest that she is shielding them from the craft. Her halo also appears to be darker and fainter in this particular picture. Could that be related to the object in the sky behind her? Did it have a diminutive effect? Another theory is that the object is simply a symbol of Domenico Gaharidi. The artist. He is believed to have painted the piece during the second half of the 15th century, although other researchers have attributed it to Jacopo del Celio or Sebastiano Mainardi. And I have no idea if I've done them properly.
But some people have said it's just a embellishment, that's a correction in the painting. But
this is the whole painting, obviously.
I'm glad you had that slide.
And this is a zoomed in. So there we go. There's a little UFO, and then there's a little man with his dog. He's looking up at it. He's like, what's that? So he's seen it.
The dog can't see it because he can't look up.
The dog's barking at it.
According to...
Although I don't know where they get that the dog's barking. It's just looking up. You can't hear a painting, but...
yeah. And keeping in mind, I mean, this was 1450 AD, you know, that's...
But some people have said that's like a mistake in the picture that they've just corrected.
Well, if it is a mistake in the picture, why is he staring at it?
Yeah, look all little flashy lines coming out.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was like flare, like kind of things coming out of it as well. So
a lot going on in there, isn't there?
There's a lot going on there, yeah. And it's definitely if it was a mistake that he'd made on the painting, why would his little character be staring at it?
Yeah.
Like, what? No.
Yeah.
It looks very UFO-y to me.
That does look very UFO-y.
UFO-y. I like that.
Don't come for me. Yeah, there are cave drawings of UFOs.
Yeah.
But we've not got dates on them, like official. We've got estimated dates, but we've not got actual dates on them.
In fact, there's quite a lot of sort of information we have gathered over the years about them cave paintings, where you look at them differently to. You see, like people are seeing and make the greys and aliens, but some of them could be actually like when you look at them as shadows from above, aren't they? Like
some of them look like
land, aerial.
We need to go into some of these cave paintings because some of them look like it's an aerial view looking down on the ground, and you can see the man, you can see his shadow, but only as you would see from the air. So there's quite a lot of bizarre things in these cave paintings. And now we go on to 1486 AD.
All right, moving right along. So here we have the Annunciation with Saint Emeritus, which was painted in 1486 by Italian artist Carlo Crivelli. Shows the Virgin Mary shortly before she realizes that she will give birth to Jesus the Savior. A beam of light coming from a round opening in the sky to Mary's head is said by most mainstream art critics and historians to be the halo of the Lord projecting down to Mary. However, UFO and alien enthusiasts have interpreted the halo as a disc-shaped UFO. Their belief is that Jesus was not divine at all, which blasphemy.
Yeah. Blasphemy. That's just what they think. That's not what we think. It is bizarre. It is a bizarre interpretation of this.
Yeah, what I would say is it doesn't look quite halo shaped to me. What I'm seeing there.
Why would a halo be beaming light down onto it?
And why would there be like a ring of cloud around the halo? I don't get it.
An object versus a person, or what they believed God to look like, or God to look like. Why would it be this, object of a circle? And
yeah, strange. I mean, I know like that they did represent things like that. I mean, there's other paintings that clearly show that's what they're trying to say. But
and Kelly says that she believes that aliens are fallen angels. I think so too. However, I also think that some of the aliens are actual angels, because the fallen angels are going to look very similar to the angels. So I think there is a good element and a bad element. I think there is demonic and angelic.
I know which ones are the fallen angels, the ones who lost their anchor. That's what they are. The fallen angels.
We'll probably talk more about that. We'll probably talk more about that too as we go on.
Yeah. I do think that a lot of them are the fallen angels, but they're going to look the same, aren't they? Because they were angels. They're going to, or at least similar. So I
think there's a complete mixture, because then you got.
I think there's a good element and a bad element. So
the next Theodosius brings up, so maybe it could be a portal. It's so hard to say. You don't know what the actual meaning is behind these, but
there is the belief in some circles that the actual star that they followed was a UFO.
I have heard that. Yep.
I guess it is in a sense, because that was
an identified flying object.
That was a guide. That was a guiding light. It weren't just like the regular star in the sky, and that was obviously put there by some, if we say God, divine being, or whatever. Purposes. So
right, and
either way.
Now we're going to go into the 1500s and April the 14th, to be exactly precise, 1561. And we are in Nuremberg, and we're not having a trial, we're just in Nuremberg.
Yeah, and we're not racing Nuremberg track, so yeah.
So residents of Nuremberg, I'll take that off the screen for a minute because that's completely irrelevant to what I'm talking about, everybody.
Yeah.
Residents of Nuremberg saw what they described as an aerial battle, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object. And we've heard of these quite a lot in the more modern day sightings as well. And a large crash outside the city. According to the broadsheet report from the time, at around dawn on the 14th of April, 1561, many men and women of Nuremberg saw what the broadsheet describes as an aerial battle out of the sun. Now they're saying that this come out of the sun, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object and exhausted combatant spheres falling to earth in clouds of smoke. The broadsheet claims that witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead. The woodcut illustration, which I'm going to show you in a second, depicts objects of various shapes, including crosses with or without spheres on the arms, small spheres, two large crescents, a black spear, and cylindrical objects from which several small spheres emerged and darted around the sky at dawn.
Wow, those are really detailed.
A visual representation of what was actually in the newspaper back in 1561. We have it, and here it is.
Yeah.
So there's the sun. They're all coming out of the sun. And we've got all these different shaped things. We've got cylindrical things with circles, which could be windows. I don't know. We've got crosses. We've got globes. So much going on. And weird.
Yeah. It appears to be definitely some kind of aerial battle taking place. Now, them.
They were definitely fighting with each other, and one of them apparently crashed outside the city.
Them cylinders, that looks like they're firing out projectiles, which could be plasma balls, or it could be other little smaller crafts. Now, if you sort of are aware of sort of things what goes on in the UFO communities, you've probably heard of like crop circles, and crop circles are usually related to these little ball orbs that appear and actually create them. So it could be them.
This was witnessed by hundreds of people when it actually made the broadsheet newspaper.
Yeah, they had a lot more details in this one, didn't they?
In the illustration that they've made of it, because obviously they didn't have a camera in 1561. You can see the smoke billowing from the fields outside the town where one of them crashed.
And many of them objects are still seen over today, or at least until the sort of mid-90s, weren't it? These sort of cylinder shapes.
Cylinder shapes.
And triangle.
Orbs.
The triangle.
Yeah. And the black triangle is something that's very common. It's a TR3B. A lot of people believe it to be. But this was 1561, so that wasn't a TR3B, was it?
Nope.
What was it?
It's interesting that they say that comes through the sun, because again, when you go back further in history, there's stories about gods coming through suns and things like that. And there's other.
I mean, that could have come from the sun, or is that just that they just had
appeared from nowhere?
Where did it
probably,
come from?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the lights, the bright light, the light that that emits. Yeah.
It could just be because that's the only object that they think should be in the sky in the middle of the day, that they must have come from the sun.
Yeah.
But it's definitely strange, and it's not the only one that's strange.
And I think it all cleared up as soon as it started as well, didn't it? It sort of went on for a while, and then.
So that was 1561.
I wonder if anyone's actually taken a look and saw if they could find anything. Right.
5 years later.
Oh.
Oh yeah, 5 years later, in August 7th of 1566. What's that?
Nearly.
We've got an erin. An erin.
That's another one.
That's another one in Scottish. We've got an erin.
Nearly.
We've got an erin.
Okay. I won't even go there. I don't even know.
Oh,
yeah, the Scottish viewers will know. We've got an erin.
Nearly.
Okay. We're learning something else here tonight. All right. So the Basel celestial phenomenon of 1566. Many local witnesses in Basel reported seeing 3 celestial phenomena. The first is described as an unusual sunrise. The second as a total eclipse of the moon with a red sun rising. And the third like a cloud of black spheres in front of the sun. The text of the broadsheet can be translated as giving the following description of the event. It happened in 1566 3 times, on 27th and 28th of July and on August 7th, against the sunrise and sunset. We saw strange shapes in the sky above Basel, or Basel.
And then that continues on the next slide.
Got the image.
I've got the image, but there's more on the next slide. In the translation.
More of the information.
Because it didn't all fit on the one page.
All right, shall I continue?
There's the actual newspaper for you to have a little look at while Danielle's reading the rest.
Yeah.
All right, so during the year 1566, on the 27th of July, after the sun had shone warm on the clear, bright skies, and then around 9 p.m., it suddenly took a different shape and color. First, the sun lost all its radiance and luster, and it was no bigger than the full moon.
I think we've lost Danielle. Yeah, I'll continue then, shall I?
Yeah.
And finally, it seemed to weep tears of blood.
Same way, also the moon, which has already been almost full, and has shown. What?
You just disappeared there, and then I started reading it, and then you came back, and that was weird.
Oh, do I want to continue, or do you?
That was weird. I don't know if it was just us that lost Danielle, or if nobody could see you.
Okay.
Did Danielle disappear, or is it just my computer going weird?
No,
I thought you'd been adopted for them.
I am in a hotel, so the signal I can't, so it could have been on my end, but anyway, in much the same way, also the moon has already been almost full and is shown through the night, assuming an almost blood red color in the sky. The next day, Sunday, the sun rose at about 6 o'clock and slept with the same appearance it had when it was lying before. He lit the houses, streets, and around as if everything was blood red and fiery. At the dawn of August 7th, we saw large black spheres coming and going with great speed and precipitation before the sun and shattered as if they led a fight. Many of them were fiery red and soon crumbled and then extinguished.
Oh,
bizarre, but well, that's the little illustration they had in the newspaper in 1566 of the little black spheres.
Yeah,
Very strange.
And again connected to the sun coming like through the sun, etc. Which again, like I say, you got them sun doors and things like that in
Would you
history.
take that literally, though, that they come through the sun, or just because it's 1500s and that's just the assumption that they make?
Yeah,
I don't know.
if you look up and see an object coming
I
from
suppose you'd have
distance,
to be there, wouldn't you?
yeah, probably look like it. But similar description again, and like I said, look, what I was going to say about the other place before, I wonder if there's evidence somewhere of these, because if they were aerial battles and they were sort of objects, there must have been debris there that might even exist today. So that's quite interesting.
There is one to do with the sun in the 20th century, which we'll get into on Thursday, and that's attributed as a miracle. I think you might have heard of that one. I'm not going to give too much more away, but there is, yeah. I'm not going to say the word because then you really know what I'm talking about, and it's a surprise. But we'll get into that on Thursday. In the meantime, we're now on September the 22nd, 1609, everybody. Apparently this is like a Chinese dubbed movie because Danielle's out of sight.
Danielle's like, you want to fight? You fight me.
Danielle's
Our
out of sight.
bad Western.
Yeah. Right. Right, this has got words because we're in Korea, everybody. So I do excuse me and I apologise in advance for whatever the hell I'm about to say. So in the annals, Jamie, not the annals.
Not annals.
In the annals of the Chosun dynasty in Korea, which are often credited for their historical accuracy, there was found a strange series of bizarre recordings from different regions throughout the province from September of 1609. They are as follows, and they might not be exactly as follows because I've got to read words now. So from Gangsun-gun, which is on the east coast of Korea, this is what it said. This morning, this is a translation, by the way. It was written in Korean, but I'm not reading that. Suddenly, the thunderous sounding objects went past in the cloudless sky. All the people went out and looked up. Smoke-like shapes appeared in two places. They looked like a coronasphere of our sun and sounded like was a giant drum.
So there was sound too.
From Wonju Mok. Or Moke. I don't know. Wonju Moke. They wrote, this morning in broad daylight, something red looks like a long cotton cloth went past and then followed by the great thunder which ceased after a moment. Bizarre.
That's different.
And then from Chuncheon Bu. I don't know how to say it. Chuncheon Bu.
That sounds all right to me.
Which is on the east coast of Korea as well. This morning, the weather is clear and only a small cloud between the southeastern sky came out for a while. There was the light of fire in the sky. The shape and seemed a big jar. This is what it translates.
Wine jar again?
Another jar, yeah.
Through to the north, it was very big and fast like an arrow. Long after, that thing looks like a fire was extinguished gradually, and the white and blue smoke of blue came up as it expanded. The smoke did not be scattered for a long time. This is not just me not being able to talk. This is how it translates. I'm so very sorry.
That's what she says.
After a while, sounds like thunder and drum made the heavens vibrated. Vibrated was a translated word that came up, so that's what I'm saying. And it stopped.
No.
But there's more.
Oh.
There's more. And
but wait, there's more.
I was actually going to say I could have probably read that slide, and that probably sounded.
Do you
normal.
want to read the next one?
No, I'm just saying because I was so confused.
Right. Gangrengebu. Gangrengebu. This is their recorded history. This morning, the sun was bright and clear, and suddenly it appeared in the sky. Some stuff sounded. This is what it says. I'm very sorry.
That's like an instruction manual to something that you brought over the internet.
I'm just reading what it translated as, and you can blame Google Translate. Yes, you can. The shape was like a big bottle,
Oh, it's now a bottle.
and the stomach was larger and pointed down to the north. Seemed to fall off the earth, was looked like as if it were flying. This is how it translated. Right. When it falls below, its shape gradually enlarged. Saramiki was around 6 or 7. I don't know what that means, but that word wouldn't translate.
I don't know what any of this means, so keep going.
The colour is very below-to-go. That wouldn't translate either, so I don't know what below-to-go is.
Anyone out there?
Anybody Korean out
Something
there?
with a blue?
It could be blue. Past where the white coming down, one after another, come and long since disappeared.
That sounds a bit dodgy.
It disappeared after I heard the thunder and the earth was vibrating.
Okay.
That sounds really illiterate reading these, doesn't it?
I don't know, but
There's one more.
I think it was a lightning storm, a thunder and lightning storm I saw.
Yeah,
There's one more, and again, apologies in advance. Yangyanbu. This is from Yangyanbu.
Okay.
I think. Might not even say that at all, but that's what I think it says. House on the afternoon of Pumgawan Gimun strange object appeared in the middle of the court.
Okay.
Makes sense. On the ground suddenly appeared to shine. My sinks looked like a round.
That's not right.
I think it's
There's something a bit missing there.
I think they're saying it looked like a round sink.
Round.
Okay.
Or a bowl.
Yeah.
The first chapter, the land around a bend near a doot, and then he went up soon.
Like some sweet.
If some spirit seemed to float on the air.
Right, so either someone got sucked up into the object, maybe, or the object itself took off.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I've left it as it translated because I'm not going to try and change it.
No.
Right, the size and length of a beautiful bay.
About half a fill.
About half a fill. I don't know how big a fill is.
It depends on what Phil you know.
Like Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
So about half the size of Dr.
Phil.
So if he's about 3 foot, I would say.
Okay.
Right, was around the east. West as white and red was the centre of the green bit Natemiu.
Right.
Mm-hmm. He looked like a watering a circle like a rainbow.
Yeah, very good.
Look for the flag. Seemed to be 10,000 Denoi halfway up in the air.
Right. Denoi, is that a currency?
I have no idea.
10,000.
Was all red.
Yeah.
So halfway up in the air was all red. The head seemed to cut. The pointed end was below the roots. Straight up into the midst of heaven, a little north Denoi view was a crisp and turned into a white cloud.
White cloud.
As
Okay.
quoted in the sky after flying in the sky, moving BUDITCHILDEUT.
You know what? Don't just go for it.
Wedge themselves to a regression in the breath spewing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Suddenly cut off, and then 2 pieces of Dewey Dooney. One piece side towards the southeast, chapter 1 degree Gaidada, disappeared like smoke.
Right, okay.
A piece of the original shape where I was floating like a cushion. And was created by Vero.
I have no idea what's going on anymore. Some weird shit happened and something happened.
Yeah, shortly thereafter came a thunderous sound several times, ending the drumming sounds like rolling stone that has long since ceased in the nada. Clear and the sky, there was a point cloud. And that's what happened in Korea, everybody. And,
something happened.
Yeah, I'm glad I cleared that up for you. We all know that. Yeah.
Food bangs, food pops, food stinks.
Oh, that's subtle.
We all know now, don't we, what happened in Korea?
Yeah.
It's like a magic carpet ride.
Let's move on.
That was
let's move on.
Yeah, and that was the end of the Renaissance. Thank God, because oh my God, what the hell?
Yeah, it's like an instruction manual. Yeah, that's what I said. It's like something.
Kelly says, was that encounter during a mushroom hunt? Yes.
Probably.
Yes, it was. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And Bob says it's all double Dutch to me, like a Chinese instruction leaflet, and that's exactly what I just read to you.
Yeah, that's what it sounded
I got
like.
it out of my stereo box and just read it to you.
From which?
From Wish,
Yeah.
And now, thank
Oh my
God that.
goodness.
And we're never going to revisit that ever
No.
again.
That's
Ever
okay
again.
because this next one has some really interesting words in it as well. So
At least it might make sense though once you say the word.
it might make a little bit more sense.
3. The 19th century.
Yeah.
And it's
All right.
Danielle because I needed a drink after reading whatever the hell that just was.
Yeah, I'm the next victim. So, all right. So, February 22nd, 1803. Itsuro Bun, which means hollow ship. Also, Itsuro Fun and Urobun was an unknown object that allegedly washed ashore in 1803 in Hitachi province on the eastern coast of Japan.
Hitachi is exactly the brand of the radio that I got my instructions from.
Yeah.
That's a brand, yeah. When defining Utsuro Buno, or Boon, the Boon part means boat, while Utsuro means empty or hollow. Accounts of the tale appear in 3 texts. Ton Shosetsu in 1825.
Say that again.
No! Wait, is it not? They can see it.
Shushetsu.
Yeah. And then
What's the next one say?
Hayoru Kishu in 1835. Kishu? Kishu. I kiss you.
Tissue.
A tissue. Bless you.
Tissue.
Bless you, Danielle. Bless you.
And Ume no Kuri in 1844. The story is recorded as follows.
Yeah, and that's one of the pictures. Isn't it amazing?
Amazing.
Amazing. And Kelly says, after watching this, I may struggle to understand English again.
Yeah, you and I
I'm
both.
already struggling, clearly.
So as the story continues, on February 22nd...
I'll put it on the screen because there might be words and you can see what Danielle's trying to say.
On February 22nd, 1803, local fishers of Hareidori shore in the Hitachi province saw an ominous ship drifting in the waters. Curious, they towed the vessel back to land, discovering that it was 3.30 meters, which is 10.83 feet high, and 5.45 meters, 17.88 feet wide, reminding the witnesses of a kohako, Japanese incense burner. I would like to see a picture of that. Its upper part appeared to be made of red-coated rosewood, while the lower part was covered with brazen plates, obviously to protect it against the sharp-edged rocks. The upper part had several windows made of glass or crystal, covered with bars and clogged with some kind of tree resin. The shape of the hollow boat resembled a wooden rice pit. The windows were completely transparent, and the baffled fishermen looked inside. The inner side of the Yatsurobun was decorated with text written in an unknown language, probably similarly to what we've gone through today.
Like that last Korean thing.
Yeah, the fishermen found items inside, such as 2 bed sheets. I'm not sure how they knew they were bed sheets, but that's interesting. A bottle filled with 3.6 liters of water, some cake, and kneaded milk.
Yeah, it was me. I found a time machine and I went back with a cake. I'm very sorry.
I was going to say, these aliens are very
What's
human-like.
needed meat?
I mean, ground meat, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe they didn't know how to, I don't know.
They found a couple of bed sheets and a cake.
But again, they're just describing what they understood and translating what they think it was. I mean, it may not have been cake. It could have been something entirely different.
I bought myself a DeLorean and went back to China and got a cake.
Yeah, I mean, this is, some of the things what they talk about here does sound quite convincing, kind of, how they describe things and all the writing in there. You can really believe that there's some kind of strange.
There is some more to this story, Danielle.
There is, yeah.
There's more?
Yeah, there's another slide for this
one. Yeah, shall I go on? Mm-hmm. All right. So then the fisherman saw a beautiful young woman, of course, possibly 18 or 20
Oh, so
years
it wasn't
old.
me anymore. It wasn't me. I lied.
Oh, stop. Her body size was said to be 1.5 meters of only 4.92 feet. That definitely is not Lisa. Lisa's very tall, just so in case anybody is interested, I think, for a woman. But anyway, the woman had red hair.
Do you really think I'm tall for a woman?
I do. Probably because I'm short for.
I thought it was like normal, average size.
You probably are. I'm short, so. Anyway, the woman had red hair.
Danielle, it was Danielle. Are you 4.92 feet
But I
tall,
don't
Danielle?
get red hair.
Oh.
No, I'm 5'3".
Oh, so she was a little bit shorter than you.
The woman had red hair and I hope she had eyebrows. The hair.
They're just making out like she hadn't dyed her hair, so her eyebrows matched.
Yeah. The hair elongated by artificial white extensions. The extensions could have been made of white fur or thin white powdered textile streaks. The hairstyle cannot be found in any literature. The skin of the lovely lady was a very pale pink color. She wore precious, long, and smooth clothes of unknown fabrics.
And this is 1803. To have hair extensions is weird.
Weird as well, yeah. The woman began speaking, but no one understood her. She did not seem to understand the fisherman either, so no one could ask her about her origin. Although the mysterious woman appeared friendly and courteous, she acted oddly, for she always clutched a quadratic box made of pale material and around 0.64 meters, or no, 24 inches in size. Okay. The woman did not allow anyone to touch the box, no matter how kindly or pressingly the witness asked. So she didn't want them touching.
Get away from my box.
Don't touch my box.
Don't touch my box.
She had a cake in there. It was yeah, you're not getting my cake.
Inside the boat, 2 unusually soft carpets of unknown style and fabric were found. There were supplies such as cake, kneaded food, and meat. A beautifully decorated cup with ornaments no one could identify was also found.
That's really strange.
One account says it was 2 bed sheets, and another account said it was 2 carpets. So it was just basically 2 fabric things.
That sounds like a DIY store now. A traveling DIY store.
Yeah.
So I have no idea if it was bed sheets or carpets, but that's what was in there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
Interesting.
So see, yeah. I mean, this sounds
And there's another little picture of it.
Yeah, that's the image of it right there.
I guess there's some kind of. I think rather than UFO, I would suggest there's some kind of time traveler or dimensional traveler, if at all,
or
it might be just
mushrooms again,
or they were taking mushrooms, or that was just a woman on a boat who was trying to sell crap to somebody different. We don't know, do we?
Right, and from there we're going to the August was 12th. 1883.
All right, we're getting closer.
We're getting close to the end. For now, until Thursday. So, on August the 12th, 1883, the astronomer Jose Bonilla reported that he saw more than 300 dark, unidentified objects crossing before the sun while observing sunspot activity at the Zacatecas Observatory in Mexico. He was able to take several photographs exposing wet plates at 1/100th of a second. Bonilla's photos have been credited with being some of the earliest photos of unidentified flying objects.
And they actually look better than some today. Even though
so this is August 1883. Skeptics claim that these are geese. Now, I think you should know what geese look like. If he's an astronomer and he's looking at this all the time, he should know what birds look like. But that's what skeptics say, and here's one of his pictures, just so you can see. There we go.
I think that's
is it a UFO? Or
weather balloon? Yeah.
Well, there you go, weather balloon. Expialidocious. We'll be talking about that.
Gas, Jamie. It's clearly swamp gas.
It's a fly. That's a fly.
Yeah, so that is credited as being the first picture taken of a UFO.
Yeah.
Or geese, depending on what you believe. Yeah.
Well, that's quite interesting in itself, isn't it? Like, having like that sort of footage. Then that's
yeah. Very interesting.
Different. Yeah.
So from there, we're going a little prelude to the last one. This goes between November the 17th, 1896 and April the 23rd, 1897. Now, I know I've just done one, but because the order was messed up, I'm going to do this one as well because Danielle is doing the last one because she's got it all set up.
Kind of,
So,
but yeah.
Right, the best known of the mystery airship waves. Now, there was quite a few mystery airship waves, but the best known one began in California, where Danielle is right now, in 1896 in the November. Afterwards, reports and accounts of similar airships came from other areas, generally moving eastward across the country. Some accounts during this wave of airships reports claim that occupants were visible on some of the airships, and encounters with the pilots were also reported. These occupants often appeared to be humanoid, though their behaviour, mannerisms, and clothing were sometimes reported to be unusual.
Right.
So I'm going to quickly put this on the screen. That's the wrong one. There we go. That image there is one of the mystery airships. It was illustrated in the San Francisco Call on the 22nd of November 1986. And on the next slide, I'll just read this to you. The November 19th, 1986 edition of the Stockton, California Daily Mail featured one of the earliest accounts of an alleged alien craft sighting. Colonel H.G. Shaw claimed that while he was driving his buggy through the countryside near Stockton, he came across what appeared to be a landed spacecraft. Shaw described it as having a metallic surface which was completely featureless apart from a rudder and pointed ends. He estimated a diameter of 25 feet and said the vessel was around 150 feet in total length. 3 slender, 7-foot tall, that's 2.1 meters, apparent extraterrestrials were said to approach from the craft while emitting a strange warbling noise. Now, how would you... What?
I don't know, but that's unusual because usually extraterrestrials were described as being short in stature.
Yeah.
Oh, you got tall greys down here.
The tall whites.
Tall whites, sorry, tall whites.
Okay.
Right. The beings reportedly examined Shaw's buggy and then tried to physically force him to accompany them back to their airship.
Oh no!
These aliens were said to give up after realizing they lacked the physical strength to force Shaw aboard. They supposedly fled back to their ship, which lifted off the ground and sped out of sight. Shaw believed the beings were Martians sent to kidnap an Earthling for unknowable but potentially nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
This has been seen by some as an early attempt at alien abduction.
Rubbish.
It's apparently the first published account of an explicitly extraterrestrial beings attempting to kidnap humans into their spacecraft. So that's the earliest alien abduction story.
Yeah.
From 1896.
Obviously, they didn't have that. Must have been quite embarrassing for them, mustn't it? We can't even abduct a human. We're supposed to be these advanced technology aliens from a different planet or dimension, and we can't even take one dude.
And there's another couple of the illustrations from the California wave in 1896, 1897. You got one of them from the San Francisco Call again in November of 1896, and then one that was in the St. Paul Globe in April of 1897. And that brings us on. This wave ended in April 1897. Just a couple of days after, something very bizarre happened in Texas, and Danielle is going to tell us all about it.
All right. So many of you may or may not have heard about the Aurora, Texas incident that happened in 1897. Aurora, Texas is about 50 miles northwest of Dallas, Texas, if that puts it into proximity for anybody who needs that familiar location. So in the town of Aurora, Texas, on April 17th, 1897, there was a population around that time about 372 people, which it really hasn't grown much since. It's a small community. I think I have an image of the, is there an image or a map shown for, just to give perspective?
Yep.
Okay.
That's also next to a picture of you. But,
Yeah, so on the right is an actual sketch that many of the residents, this is what they saw. It was a cigar-shaped craft moving along the sky, and it had these little circles or portholes in it, right? Some noted it looked like it was in trouble. Apparently it was wobbling or something, and it ended up crashing, according to the reports, into a windmill on the property of a local judge there by the name of Judge Proctor. Now, the crash, it created, obviously, because it crashed, it created huge flames and debris went flying everywhere, which would be typical. And it apparently scattered across acres of land. So when they went to investigate, people described the debris as looking like a mixture of aluminum and silver pieces together. And there was also said to be a body that was found after this crash. And of course, it didn't resemble anything found on Earth. Now, at that time, they didn't say like the body looked humanoid or anything like that. They just said a body. There was a local military man who described the body as being a Martian. Now, I'm not sure like how they would have came up with that.
How did they know what a Martian looks like?
Exactly. So I think the next slide, the story appeared in a Dallas newspaper the next day. Everybody had reports. I'm sorry?
I put that in a different order, so I need to go back.
Okay. No worries. That's the newspaper article. Yeah. The article included plans that the people of the town were talking about burying this alien pilot, and they were going to take it to a local cemetery and bury it there. So that's how that story went. It turned out to be not an isolated incident, though, because around the same time that the people were reporting this, there were similar accounts elsewhere all over the country, and they were calling them airships. So that was a common theme, is airships seemed to be the description. And they were spotted over places like Sacramento, California, Springfield, Illinois, Waterloo, Iowa, Hastings, Nebraska, Decatur, Michigan, and Waterloo, Iowa were just some of the places. But there were 108 reports of sightings in Texas alone, which is incredible. So keep in mind that in 1897, the airplane wasn't even invented yet. That didn't happen until like 6 years later. There had been an airship, though, made back in 1852 by a French engineer by the name of Henri Giffard. I think I have a picture of him in case anybody wanted to see that.
Is that this fellow?
Yes, it is. And to the right of him is what he created as being an engineer. It was the first full-sized aircraft, and it was cigar-shaped. It had a 3 horsepower to turn the propeller, and it had a steam engine, which had to be very heavy. In fact, I think they said like 350 pounds, which is 160 kilograms. So to carry that weight, there was a huge bag filled with hydrogen that was to keep that afloat. The first successful flight in 1852 was taken from a place known as Paris Hippodrome, which is like an amphitheater or a circus venue. And that actually flew 6 miles per hour or 10 kilometers and went the distance of 20 miles, which is 30 kilometers. So in comparison, that's what they had going on. So back to Aurora, Texas, they said that the debris was cleaned up. Everybody pitched in, cleared the land, and parts of it were allegedly thrown down a well on the property of Judge Proctor. Ironically, or maybe not ironically, 50 years later in 1947, it was reported that people who drank from that well were becoming very ill with extreme immunity disorder, things like that, and arthritis and strange eruptions on their hands. Wow. And I think I have a picture here, a gentleman who the Proctor family
had the issue with his hands. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. So this is the new owners of the property. This is Brawley Oates. Brawley Oates, he actually developed these eruptions on his hands that look like sores or tumors almost. Yeah, so based on this, he decided. He said he got sick after drinking the water, or that was the reports anyway. So he decided to cap the well off, and so that nobody would be sick from it again. Now, many people went on to investigate. They wanted to investigate the well, and they came to the Oates family farm and tried to get permission, but they were always turned away. The Oates family were always kind of reluctant. Obviously, that would bring more people there. They didn't want anybody, damaging the well or the well house that they put over it. And it was very old, so it could have just caved in. But finally, I don't know if there's people probably watching that followed the show UFO Hunters. In 2008, the UFO Hunters TV show approached them, and they agreed to investigate, or allow them to investigate. Now, by then, Brawley's grandson, Tim Oates, was the current owner. And two things were going to be investigated here: the well, in which there was the alleged debris at the bottom from the crash, and then the local cemetery where the alleged alien pilot, which in current times, kind of funny, they nicknamed him Ned. But anyway, the little alien pilot was allegedly buried on this in this cemetery. So they were
Why did they call him Ned?
I don't know. But they wrote Ned, and they had like flowers and different alien stuff out there. But that was in more recent times than 2018.
Yeah.
So anyway, the cemetery is located about 3 miles from the well itself. Now, Bill Burns, he's the publisher of UFO Magazine. He went there on site to help with the investigation. And the researchers had some work to do. So they were interviewing some of the older residents in the town. And the older residents seemed to think that this story was made up, that the reporter who did that article by the name of Hayden, he just did that to put Aurora on the map. But others said there was no such thing that happened. There was no windmill, yada, yada, yada. So this is why they needed to investigate these things. They were calling it an urban legend or a hoax.
Yeah.
So they divided the researchers into two teams. One of them to do the well and the other to the cemetery area. So in 1973, Bill Barnes remembers the tiny headstone still being at the cemetery, along with James Mars. He was a young researcher too, who went on to research UFOs and became, very interested in the subject, the topic. So they remembered this stone being kind of short. He claims that it appeared to be made of sandstone, and the markings were etched on it. And I think I have an image of that. There was like a V in the first drawing.
Yeah.
And then on the other side is that V, but with circles in it, with like that could be like portals.
That's strange.
Yeah. So there was a lot of,
isn't it?
There was a lot of excitement. Obviously, this brought attention, and to prevent any problems or vandals or anybody trying to exhume what could be a body, they put a police guard on to make sure everything was okay. But 2 weeks later, after everything died down, they took the police guard off, and wouldn't you know it, the headstone disappeared and was never seen ever again. So in 2008, when the UFOs Hunter story came on, through some old footage, 2 of the team members tried to find the precise location of where it was in the cemetery. So they looked at footage from the 70s where there was landmarks of a tree and a post and things like that. And I think I have an image of that as well, if you want to throw that up there. They tried to find.
This one?
Yeah. Yep. And so they were able to kind of locate where it was. The vicinity anywhere. Yeah. So they started digging with just shovels and using a metal detector just to look for little evidence, not to dig anything up like the body itself, but just anything that they could find. They did find some small pieces of metal that were hardened molten metal and rock, and they took them into the lab for analysis. And the results showed that it was aluminum for sure, which aluminum is usually, it's an alloy made up of different things. And in the 1800s, when this happened, aluminum would have been, well, it would have been rare and very expensive.
Right. Yeah.
So the lab also revealed that this particular metal, though, the fragments didn't match any other known aluminum alloy. So we have aluminum alloys here, but this was one that was not known. They also found a substantial amount of iron, which the lab technician said was probably more than normal. So that's the way they described it. They then decided to use ground penetrating radar because they didn't want to dig anything up and didn't have permission to do that. And they determined with the ground penetrating radar, that machine that goes over they roll it over. There actually was a 6 foot by 2.5 foot box shaped, rectangular shaped item below. But through further analysis,
in the grave already.
no, they didn't give them permission to do that. And
so several people have tried to get permission to exhume that grave to see what's actually in there, and you're not allowed.
Yeah, but they did find out through more of the radar imaging that it did show that it had collapsed. So they weren't able to see anything discernible that would have been inside that 6x2. Yeah, and anyway, Bill Burns, he did the well house side of the things investigation, and they began digging around the well house, and they actually found 4 metal posts or stands in the ground. And they found out later or during this investigation that that's consistent with the posts or stands of a windmill.
Yeah, for the structure.
Yep. So they hired a company, they came out, they began lifting this well house off the top of the well and removed the cap. So it was, they were trying to keep the structure intact, obviously, but they were able to get it off and the cap off of the well itself. And they had an image of the well showing it to be about 40 feet deep. I'm not sure how deep wells went back then or not. That's probably standard. So in order to go down here, though, because of what happened to Brawley, and they didn't know it had been sealed for all these years, they had an environmental protection team come out, and they dressed one of the team members in a suit, not necessarily hazmat, but a protective suit and a mask, a respirator, and they let him go down in there, and he got some samples of water and soil, as well as some debris that might have been from the inside of the well itself. I'm not sure. So they had those minerals or the water and soil samples analyzed, and they found minerals in the samples that were said to be normal. But again, they also found very high levels of aluminum.
Yeah.
And the woman that tested the samples said it's because it's possible that that amount of aluminum could be normal or naturally occurring, but not necessarily. And there was no way to know for sure.
Yeah.
But if you remember the old man Brawley, he had those eruptions on his hands and these tumors. He had a son named Bill, and the UFO hunter team decided to interview Bill. Now, Bill said he had a different story than what Brawley and the townspeople said. He said that he drank from that well too, and he didn't become sick. He also said that Brawley did find metal down there, but it was all cleaned out because he wanted to clean that well so that nobody else would get sick or before they had decided to cap it off. So there was stuff down there. But later they discovered that there was a cast iron pipe that went to the well and was corroding. And according to Brawley's son, this was the main reason why they sealed it. I don't know. Who's to say? So the conclusion or the takeaways would be, look, they've got high levels of aluminum that are typically higher than normal here, right? And they were found at each site, the burial site and in the well. Yeah. And we also have several reports over the years of cigar-shaped ships with portals, especially over the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were pulsating with lights, green or yellow lights. And
if only they would let them exhume that grave, that would answer all the questions, wouldn't it?
Possibly. I do remember sometime, I don't know if it was that program, I should imagine that they were starting to collect stuff, like you say, materials. Mm-hmm. And then I think the weather got really bad and they had to abandon it. I don't know if that's the one or if I'm confusing it with something very similar.
Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, yes, the day that they were going to go down in there was a big storm brewing the day that they were trying to remove all this stuff. So, but they were able to get some of those samples. And and like I said, there were similar reports of these cigar-shaped things over Texas in the 80s and the 90s. And the recent one I think I have a recording of, if you want to end out that with that, I don't know, May 25th, 1995, there was a pilot from America West Flight 564, and he saw something strange and something else was reported to him, and there was a recording of that as well.
Yeah, and here it is.
Guy at 39,000 says he sees something at 30,000. The length is unbelievable and it has a strobe on it. This is not good.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's a UFO. So it's that Roswell crap again.
Yeah. Good old Roswell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it remains a mystery. And if only, I mean, they claimed at the time in the newspaper that they buried the pilot of whatever this was.
Yeah.
Just let us dig it up and have a look.
Yeah.
If it's
I
just,
know, just let them examine it.
I would put all
that
the
would
rumours
put
to
it all
bed, I
to, put it
suppose.
all to rest, but they're
Yeah.
very, very secretive about the
I mean,
whole thing.
Scott says in the chat, we have high levels of aluminium, we say in the UK,
Aluminum here.
aluminum in our skies.
Aluminium.
No, that is right.
No.
It could be natural things, what could be causing. We know what's in the environment, and that could have affected him. Likewise, especially if it's a well where it's maybe seeping in and festering, because maybe not moving.
And I don't know when they started with the spraying in the skies too.
No.
I don't know what era that started.
There was no flight really then, was there? So
No. So we could probably assume that there was nothing going on at that.
Well, and but now,
Who knows?
chemtrails.
1897, and that brings us to the end of that, and we will continue with the 20th century into the 21st century, right up to today, because there's things happening right now, which could be Blue Beam, could be Blue Book. We'll find out. We'll get into that as well on Thursday. So a little extra episode this week. We will see you at 10 p.m. GMT.
Not next Tuesday.
Not next
Tuesday.
Not next Tuesday. We'll see you next Thursday.
Yeah. And I'd like to thank everyone who's
same time
come
as
along.
normal. 10 p.m. if you're in the UK. 5 p.m. if you're on the east coast of America, and I believe it's 2 p.m. if you are on the west coast.
Pacific Coast, yes, which I will be. So
So thanks to everyone who watched and supported our show by tuning in and watching our show, and everything helps. So thank you very much for that. And we won't see you next Tuesday. We'll see you
in 2 days.
In 2 days, and we'll have a bigger discussion about some of the things that we've talked about here at the end, won't we? I believe so.
Yeah, and please hit like and subscribe. Every little bit helps us out, and share that as we go. So appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And be sure to check out thecuriouscasefiles.com/store and check out our merchandise designed by me and him.
Indeed, yeah, and we've still got this members show thing in the pipeline.
We've got
coming
quite a few things
short.
in line for our patrons. And thank you very much for all your support. See you on Thursday, everybody. Bye bye.
See you later.